You are looking at the largest jungle on Earth. 170 million acres of trees so thick, so ancient, so suffocating in their density, that for 500 years, historians told us nothing was hiding underneath them. They were wrong. This is the same jungle, same coordinates, same patch of Earth. The only difference: we finally had the technology to see the truth. Stay with me for the next 20 minutes, because what scientists have found buried under the Amazon canopy doesn't just rewrite South American history. It rewrites human history. We're talking about cities larger than ancient Rome, road networks more organized than medieval Europe, an entire civilization that lived, thrived, and somehow vanished, right underneath the most explored continent on the planet, and nobody knew. Not the explorers, not the conquistadors, not the archaeologists who spent their entire careers walking through this jungle. So nobody knew. Until a laser shot down from a helicopter and told us the truth. I'm your host, and today we are going inside the discovery that scientists are calling the most significant archaeological find of the 21st century. Let's go back to what the textbooks said, and I mean the textbooks that were still being printed 10 years ago. The Amazon, according to the official narrative, was essentially empty before Europeans arrived. Yes, there were small tribes, nomadic groups, maybe a few thousand people scattered across millions of square miles, living lightly, leaving no lasting mark. This wasn't cruelty or ignorance from historians, it was logic. The Amazon soil is notoriously poor. It's thin, acidic, nutrient-depleted. It floods, it rots. You can't grow enough food to sustain a massive population, that's what they said. And there was another reason people believed this. Nobody could see anything. Archaeologists who walked into the Amazon found trees, and more trees, and more trees. The canopy above them, some of it stretching 130 feet into the air, blocked satellites, blocked aerial photography, blocked everything. You could walk directly over the walls of a buried city and never know it. And that's exactly what happened for 500 years. In 2010, something changed. Not in the jungle, in the sky above it. Archaeologists began mounting a piece of technology called LiDAR, which stands for light detection and ranging, onto small aircraft and flying it over the canopy. Here's how it works. And pay attention here, because this is genuinely mind-blowing. LiDAR fires hundreds of thousands of laser pulses per second straight down toward the ground. Most of those pulses hit leaves, branches, bird nests. They bounce back immediately and get recorded. But some pulses, a small percentage, slip through gaps in the canopy. They fall further, they hit the ground, and they bounce back too. The computer then strips away every return signal that came from above ground level. It throws out the trees, the bushes, the vines, every single piece of vegetation. What's left is a perfect, centimeter-accurate map of the bare ground underneath. And in 2010, when researchers flew the first LiDAR surveys over parts of the Amazon basin, the ground underneath revealed something extraordinary. Geometric earthworks, raised roads, concentric circles, rectangular platforms. That's not natural. That is not a natural landscape. Those straight lines don't happen in nature. Those perfect geometric shapes don't happen in nature. That grid, that deliberate, organized, engineered grid, was built by people. Now let's talk about what exactly they found, because this is where things get almost incomprehensible. Discovery number 1, the Upper Xingu Basin. Researcher Michael Heckenberger spent years documenting evidence of what he called garden cities in the Upper Xingu region of Brazil. But it wasn't until LiDAR confirmed his findings that the world started paying attention. What he found was a network of at least 20 interconnected towns, all linked by wide, arrow-straight roads, all centered around open plazas, all built to a deliberate urban plan. This wasn't a village, this was a metropolitan system, a network of settlements housing what researchers now estimate was a population of 50,000 people, possibly more. And this is just one region before the next discovery reveal. Hit the subscribe button. This helps the channel a lot. Discovery number 2, Llanos de Mojos, Bolivia. In 2022, a team led by Heiko Prumas published what many scientists consider the most dramatic single LiDAR finding in Amazonian history. In the Bolivian Amazon, in a region called Llanos de Mojos, the scans revealed something that made archaeologists physically stop and re-examine their data because they thought there was an error. A civilization, a fully realized, complex urban civilization, complete with a capital city called Cotoca, surrounded by a network of smaller satellite cities, all connected by elevated causeways built to stay above seasonal floodwaters. The scale, the largest site covered nearly 150 hectares. There were 11 interconnected urban centers across this single landscape. Heiko Prumas said, and I'm quoting directly from his published paper, "We were absolutely stunned." Researchers who have spent their careers being professionally cautious, who never exaggerate, who choose every word carefully, they were stunned. Discovery number 3, the geoglyphs of Acre. In the Brazilian state of Acre, LiDAR scans uncovered something different. Not cities exactly, but hundreds of enormous geometric earthworks carved into the landscape. Circles, squares, hexagons, some of them stretching over 1,000 feet across. Over 450 individual sites have been catalogued so far. They were built between 1,000 and 2,000 years ago. They show sophisticated engineering and astronomical alignment. We have no idea what most of them were for. That is not a small admission. 450 massive geometric monuments, and the best minds in archaeology are still debating their purpose. Now, 3 numbers I need you to really hear. Estimated pre-Columbian Amazon population, 8 to 10 million people. Percentage of the Amazon floor scanned by LiDAR so far, less than 1%. Number of major sites discovered in just the last decade, over 1,200. Less than 1%. We have scanned less than 1% of the Amazon with LiDAR. And in that 1%, we've found over 1,200 significant archaeological sites. Do the maths on what's left. I want to stop here and really sit with the before and after for a moment, because I think this is the most visually powerful thing in all of modern archaeology, and it deserves more than a quick mention. Imagine a drone flying over the Amazon near the Bolivian border. You see what every explorer, every pilot, every satellite image has shown for centuries: a carpet of green, impenetrable, featureless, empty. Now imagine the LiDAR return from the exact same location. There are streets, there are moats, there are raised platforms where buildings stood, there are channels that carried water across the city, there are clear boundaries between neighborhoods. This isn't archaeological imagination, this isn't interpretation. The laser hit physical structures in the ground, berms and ditches and platforms that are still physically there, just invisible under the vegetation. The city was always there. Let that breathe for a moment. The city was always there, we just couldn't see it. And here's what makes this discovery hit differently from, say, finding a new fossil or decoding an ancient text. This isn't about one lost city. This is a fundamental demolition of a narrative. We were told the Amazon was empty. We built entire academic disciplines, entire national identities, entire colonial justifications on the idea that nothing was here before the Europeans came. And every single LiDAR flight that adds another cluster of earthworks, another road network, another urban center to the map, is not just a discovery. It is a correction. So who built all of this? The frustrating answer, and the honest one, is that we don't fully know yet. What we do know is this. The people of the Upper Xingu were likely ancestors of some of the Arawakan-speaking peoples still living in the Amazon today. Their oral traditions speak of great ancestral towns, of roads that stretched to the horizon, of a time when the forest was full of people. For generations, outsiders dismissed these stories as myth, as the romanticized memory of people who never built anything significant. The LiDAR says otherwise. We also know that these civilizations understood their environment in ways that still astonish modern ecologists. The Amazon's famously poor soil, they fixed it. They engineered a substance called Terra Preta, which means dark earth, by mixing charcoal, bone, and organic waste into the soil over generations. Terra Preta is so rich, so persistent, that it's still measurably more fertile than surrounding soil 1,000 years later. These weren't people living in harmony with a wilderness because they had no other choice. They were people who engineered a wilderness to feed millions. And then, somewhere between 1400 and 1700 AD, something went catastrophically wrong. Most researchers now point to European contact, not direct conquest in many cases, but the diseases that sprinted ahead of the conquistadors: smallpox, measles, influenza. Populations with zero immunity collapsed within a generation. The forest moved back in. Within a century, the trees swallowed the roads, the plazas disappeared under root systems, the causeways sank into mud. And by the time European explorers began serious Amazon expeditions in the 1800s, there was almost nothing left to see. Almost. Here's where I want to leave you, and I want you to really sit with this question. We have scanned less than 1% of the Amazon. In that 1%, we've overturned 500 years of accepted history. We've found not one lost city, but dozens. Not one civilization, but evidence of an entire, interconnected, continent-spanning world of human achievement that we never knew existed. What is in the other 99%? Researchers like Francisco Puglis at the University of São Paulo have said publicly that they believe there are thousands of undiscovered sites still out there. Not hundreds, thousands. There may be cities larger than anything found so far. There may be road systems that connect the Andes to the Atlantic coast. There may be monuments so large that when we finally map them, they'll rank among the greatest human constructions in history. And they are sitting there right now, today, under the trees. There's also something darker to consider. The Amazon is burning. Every year, illegal deforestation tears out hundreds of thousands of acres of jungle. And while the environmental catastrophe of that is well documented, there's an archaeological dimension that almost never gets discussed. When the trees burn, the sites burn too, not because fire destroys the earthworks directly, those are made of earth, but because the root systems holding the soil erode, because looting becomes possible, because the context that makes archaeological sites scientifically meaningful gets destroyed forever. We are in a race, LiDAR technology versus chainsaws. Knowledge versus time. Here's what the Amazon LiDAR story is really about, beyond the Amazon itself. It's a lesson in the limits of what we think we know. For most of human history, we assumed we understood the world's past because we could see evidence of it, the monuments that survived, the texts that were preserved, the artifacts that didn't rot. But the Amazon tells us that absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. There are regions of the world that are dense, humid, remote, covered in vegetation, regions where things decay fast and the jungle reclaims everything quickly, and we have been looking at those regions for centuries, seeing nothing and concluding, nothing happened here. LiDAR is proving, site by site, scan by scan, that we were wrong every time we made that assumption. The hidden city of Caracol in Belize, revealed by LiDAR to be 3 times larger than previously known. The full extent of Angkor Wat's urban sprawl in Cambodia, which turned out to make it the largest pre-industrial city in human history. Sites in sub-Saharan Africa, in Southeast Asia, in Papua New Guinea. Every time researchers point this technology at a place they thought they understood, the world gets larger. We were told a story about the Amazon, about the Americas before Columbus, about who built things and where, and how complex human civilization could get without steel and horses and written language as Europeans understood it. That story was incomplete. Not because anyone was necessarily lying, though some were, and some had reasons to, but because we simply could not see. We literally could not see through the trees. And now we can. A laser pulse, fired hundreds of thousands of times per second, is dismantling 5 centuries of wrong assumptions 1 hectare at a time. The question isn't whether there are more cities under the canopy. There are, almost certainly. The question is whether we will find them before the canopy disappears. The city was always there. We just had to learn how to look. If this changed the way you see the world, even slightly, subscribe and share it with someone who needs to see it too. And drop in the comments, if you had access to a LiDAR scanner right now, what region of the world would you point it at? I'll be reading every single one.